All right, I messed up. I ran out of pre-workout, but luckily, the gas station has my favorite energy drink. Right there, buddy. Rainbow Sherbet. A little more caffeine than I want, but that's okay. I'm feeling a little sluggish this morning. It might help me get in the zone a little bit better. So, I did have a question on one of my recent posts. I answered it on there, but I'm going to answer it here too. Tactical Burrito says, has starting warming up, working out your rotator cuff been helping with shoulder pain? It has been helping so much. There for a while, I thought I was going to have to completely quit training my chest and shoulders for a while. But after doing a rotator cuff warm up, and I still need to film this and just post it, as it hadn't made my shoulder pain completely go away, but I feel like a different person. Like, warm up your rotator cuff, whether you're feeling pain in it or not when you're training chest and possibly shoulders. I hadn't researched that one. Warm up your rotator cuff. Thank me later. But yeah, so today is shoulders, and I got some questions here to answer. All right, what's your primary goal for today's workout? Strength, hypertrophy, or perfecting form? I mean, a little bit of everything. I don't think I do a lot of strength training with shoulders. Strength training with shoulders kind of includes overhead press, and I don't do a lot of that. I just don't feel the need to overly develop my front delts, front of my shoulders. And also another thing was when I was training, doing a lot of shoulder pressing, that's one of the things that led to my little shoulder injury. You know, of course, it was not warming up my rotator cuff, but doing heavy shoulder pressing and stuff. Maybe it was a form issue or overtraining. I'm not really sure, but that's one of the things. So when I train shoulders, I'm thinking more of time under tension, hypertrophy. Light to moderate weight, just keeping my shoulders, keeping blood flowing to my shoulders. That's just my whole goal with that. And I just train my side and my rear delts because my front delts are developed pretty good. And they get hit when I do chest, so I'm not really too concerned about that. Any specific delt area you're prioritizing, front, side, or rear? Well, I just answered that one without even realizing that was the next question. Side delts and rear delts. Rear delts is something people miss out a lot on. Side delts, they get trained decently, but the front delt usually overwhelms the side delt, and then the rear delt doesn't get trained as much, and then people don't get those rounded shoulders. So I hit the back of my shoulder really hard, hit the side of my shoulder really hard, because the front of my shoulder is fine right now. That's my strategy there. How's your core feeling? Any tweaks or tightness you need to watch for on abs? That's a weird question. I hadn't trained abs in a while. I think once you get to a certain point with your ab training, that your abs do get recruited when you do like squats, heavy press downs, things of that nature. I don't think you really need to train them that often unless you just enjoy training them. But I'm going to get back to training them a little more often because I kind of took them out of my routine. I just didn't feel necessary because my abs are pretty developed. What's your plan for shoulder warm-ups or to avoid joint strain? Rotator cuff warm-up, number one. And then when I go to work out my side delts, I'm going to use the cable stack really light, slow, like half reps, something like that, to get my shoulder ready. That's something that's been seeming to help, and I think that's really going to keep me from getting injured again. What's one movement today you want to beat your last performance on? I don't really think that way. I just want to go in there. I want to go hard. I always want to do better than I did before, but, fatigue, and there's so many factors that you can't get caught up on doing so good this time and then not doing as good the next time because, your energy levels are going to vary. There's just so many factors that go into performance that a lot of it's in your control, but some of it isn't. So you can't really get caught up in that. Are you filming this session? If so, is there a specific clip or moment you want to highlight for your vlog? I always want to film, and then there's sometimes I just want to go in there and I just want to throw some weight around. So we might be doing some of that. It really just depends on how crowded it is. I used to have the attitude of I'm filming no matter what, but I also want to be able to respect the people around me. And when I go in there, you know, a little later in the morning or in the afternoon, it can be hit or miss. Really early morning, I'm probably filming everything. Right now it's 8 o'clock. It's about 7, 8 cars. I'll take my camera in. I'll film what I feel like is necessary. But this is the part of the videos that I'm really enjoying more right now, is really trying to bring out my personality and, you know, just share a little more with you guys. What mental cue are you using to stay focused when the burn kicks in? Some weird ass questions. Mental cue? Man, I'm so disciplined that I know that when it gets to that state, okay, so I do have a mental cue. I know when things get hard, that's when most people quit. And when you look at who's successful in life and who isn't, it's those people that realize that most people quit when it gets hard, that most people give up when it gets hard. But if you push through that, the mental cue that you need is, hey, I'm doing a little better than this person. And if I consistently do a little bit better, then in the long run, I'm going to make it. That's what's going to separate me from the crowd. That's what's going to push me to the next level. And that's what's going to lead to my success. And that's all the questions for now. We're going to get in there. We're going to destroy these shoulders and do a little bit of ab training. And I'll see you guys in there. right, there you have it. Shoulders and abs are complete. It was a pretty solid shoulder and abs day. So before I get to these questions, I want to talk about something. So somebody came up to me in the gym and started talking to me. And usually I have my headphones in. Nobody really bothers me, but he wanted to give some advice. And some of what he said was okay, but another part of it kind of bothered me. He seemed to think that calisthenics is what gives you definition and lifting is what makes you bigger. So, I mean, I guess there's a little bit true about that statement, but I don't think you have to do calisthenics to get defined. It's all about resistance. I don't think your body knows the difference between doing push-ups and doing bench press. So, push-ups may have a place in training, but I think it's at the end when you're already exhausted just to kind of finish off. But you're going to be able to lift heavier on bench press than you are push-ups. So if you don't have access to stuff, calisthenics is awesome. But I just get so confused that people don't really understand that it's about the tension, about the resistance, and about progressive overload. And he did talk a little bit about progressive overload, which is okay. But I'm not trying to progressively overload doing lateral raises. Lateral raises is about time under tension. Of course, pushing the weight, but it's more about the time under tension. So, I mean, it bothered me a little bit, but, I let him say what he wanted to say. But, I'm not going to be the type of person to tell somebody they're wrong, but maybe I should get more comfortable getting in a debate with somebody. But, so shoulder workout was good. We did 3 sets of, rotator cuff warm up, did 3 sets of cable lateral raises, did 3 sets of dumbbell lateral raises, did 3 sets of face pulls, 3 sets of rear delt cable flies, and then did 5 sets of cable crunches. And that was the shoulders and abs workout. So let me get a sip of my rainbow sherbet rain. Stuff's good. Probably not good for you. I don't really know. So here are the questions for today. What movement felt the strongest today, and why do you think that was? Felt the strongest. I think lateral raise. I don't know that it felt the strongest, but for a while I've been doing the 15 pounders, but I've moved up to the 20 pounders. And for people that do lateral raises all the time and try to keep a good controlled form doing it, no, that's a big step. I really wish we had 17 and a half and I would have been working there for a while. But that felt the strongest, and it felt good to control the weight. So I would say that the cable crunches felt good, but I hadn't done those in a while. Face pulls, I changed my grip a little bit this time, and that's why it felt stronger. So I'd say lateral raises felt the strongest. Did you hit any PRs or push past a mental block? Shoulders, I'm not going to be hitting any PRs because I don't do overhead press. I might eventually do it again. Who knows? Push past a mental block. I'd say with the cable lateral raises, like, there's times when I've done cable lateral raises that it didn't feel right, and I just kind of backed off, and usually that's a good mental cue to do it. But what I did was I kind of adjusted my form just a little bit, stepped out a little bit farther and kind of rotated my wrist a little bit when it was coming out, and that pushed past the very mild discomfort I was having in my shoulder. And that felt really good to push past something like that. Which delt head got hit the hardest, front, side, or rear? Side and rear. I didn't hit front at all. I think front gets recruited just a little bit when you're doing the cable lateral raises. It's just the movement, I think. But I'd say if I had to choose between side and rear, side delts got hit the hardest. Rear delts, I think I do still have some form to work on when it comes to doing face pulls and the rear delt cable flies. But I don't know, it's burning pretty good. It's just pretty even between side and rear delts, which is exactly what I want when I'm training my shoulders. So I'd say side delts, because when I was doing lateral raises, I felt really fatigued, and it felt like I couldn't go up all the way, but I still felt the tension right there in my side delt. So that felt pretty good. Yeah, side delts got hit a little harder. How was your core engagement during ab workout? Did you feel the burn where you wanted it? Yes, absolutely. I remember when I used to do cable crunches all the time, and I'd post videos about it, and somebody mentioned that I was keeping my back too straight, and I felt it in my core pretty good, so I didn't want to listen to it, and they suggested that I change up my form a little bit, and I can be pretty stubborn sometimes. I get stuck in my ways, and I don't want to change things up, but that's something I've started to work on. So I'll listen. I'll give it its day. Like, I tried it, and it actually felt better. So, but it's been a while since I've done some cable crunches, and I remembered that form cue. So I used to try to kind of keep my back straight and go straight down to the floor. But now, when I'm holding the attachment, I go down and I try to get as close to touching my knees as I can, and it feels really good in the core, like a deeper burn than when I was doing it with my back straight. So that's that mental cue I have for when I'm doing the cable crunches. Definitely a good one. Any exercise you'd swap out or modify next time? No, not really. I mean, my shoulder training's been pretty set in stone for a little while, and it goes back to having a slight shoulder injury. It's that and my chest training. I don't veer too far off the path, because my shoulder has slowly been feeling better, and it's getting close to 100%. So why would I change that up? Like, the last thing you want is to get an injury and put your training back even farther than it would switching it up, so yeah. There really isn't anything I'd modify about that workout. Did your pre-workout mindset line up with how the session actually went? I'd say so. I went in there with the mindset that I was going to warm up my rotator cuff. I was going to hit my side delts hard. I was going to hit my rear delts hard. I was going to work out my abs in some sort of way, and I was going to do my 30 minutes of cardio. And I checked all those things off the list, and I put a lot of effort into it. I think sometimes I could do a little bit more, but I definitely found that balance there. So I'd say my mindset did line up pretty good. What's one cue or form adjustment that made a big difference today? I talked about a little bit with the cable lateral raises, that I was doing them, and mid-set, I felt like it was feeling a little off. So what I did was, when I was doing it, the cable lateral raises, instead of going straight out like this, I rotated my wrist a little bit to where my hand was facing my body instead of to the side, and I rotated a little bit as I went out, and that made it feel a lot better right here, and I felt less tension in this area, which is another area I've had some issues with. So just rotating my hand like that and pushing it out like this made a huge difference. It really put a lot more tension on my side delt and took some tension off of my elbow. So that's something I'll be doing every time now. I just got to remember. How do your shoulders and abs feel right now? Pumped, sore, solid? I mean, they still feel slightly pumped, but the fact that I did 30 minutes of cardio afterwards, and I'm in my car maybe 40 minutes later, the pump has faded a little bit. So if I were to come straight to my car after I finished my workout, so I guess I could talk about how it felt as soon as I was done. I was doing my pose down. I think I could do more for my abs. My shoulders were pretty pumped when I was working my abs, but I think I can change up my ab training a little bit now that question's been asked. That's why I love these questions. What's your next step? Recovery meal, stretching, cardio, or rest? So don't really have a lot of recovery meals. Maybe it's something I should do. Just be ready to eat something as soon as I'm done stretching. I don't stretch. This thing's going to keep asking me about stretching so much that I'm going to start stretching. It's just my time. I try to put as much as I can in an hour and a half, and it maybe I could 5-10 minutes of stretching. Maybe that's something I can start doing. Cardio, I did 30 minutes of cardio. So touching on cardio a little bit, I don't do super intense cardio because I do get 10 to 20,000 steps on days I work. So all I do is walk on an incline, get my heart rate up a little bit, get a little bit of a sweat going. And I think that's sustainable over a long period of time. I love running. And maybe that's something I'll start doing once a week, but running after every workout's probably not going to happen. Rest. No rest for the wicked, guys. I'm sure there's an optimum amount of rest, like rest days, optimum amount of sleep. Maybe I can fit a nap in every once in a while, but it's about 6 hours is my best that I can do right now. It kind of sucks, but maybe if this blows up one day and I'm able to do this full time, it's something I'll be able to focus on rest. So hit that subscribe button so I can make this my full-time job. If you were to give one tip to your audience for training shoulders, abs, based on today, what would it be? Go hard. I'm going to say it all the time, guys. You got to go hard. Don't be afraid to switch it up. A lot of people's front delts are overdeveloped. So hit your side delts and especially your rear delts really hard. Look up exercises, try different things. You don't have to do the exact workout I'm doing. But definitely time under tension is key when it comes to working out shoulders. There's a lot of different ways to, do your side delts. But for me, the biggest benefit has been slow, controlled. Leave that ego at the door. Go in there, lighten it up on the lateral raises, focus on form, keep grinding away at it, and I guarantee your shoulders are going to blow up. Nutrition is king. Get the right amount of protein, carbs, fats, calories every day, water, creatine, hit all that stuff. Hit your shoulders hard at least once a week, twice a week if you can. If something hurts, don't do it. As far as ab training goes, I'm not a big proponent of ab training. Cable crunches are good. Cross crunches are better. If you want to train obliques, you can, but I don't think that's necessary. So the biggest takeaway is go hard, guys. Stick to the plan. And that just seems to be what's working for me. Absolutely stick to your nutrition, man. Like, it is so important. It's such a big part. You're already going to the gym, so you might as well nail your diet too. You're pushing it in the gym. You're doing your cardio. No, you're not. So you might as well be nailing your nutrition. And it seems like a big task to start weighing your food and counting your calories, but I guarantee you it's worth it. Once you start doing it more often, it becomes easier. It becomes second nature. It's just how things work out. So that would be my biggest advice right there. But I appreciate you guys joining. If you're enjoying my content, like, comment. I'm open to questions. Absolutely send me questions. Like, I want to add it to these questions I'm getting on here and just try to answer. So tomorrow is going to be arm day. If you got questions about arms training or a suggestion, I'm completely open to that. But I appreciate you guys joining me. Hit that subscribe button. Don't let that dreamer die. Keep the grind alive. Never give up on yourself. I'll see you guys tomorrow.